This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, yeah, baby. What a return to Angels baseball, and what a return to the Locked On Angels Postcast. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition and a long-awaited return of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here live on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what is going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent not one, not two, not three, but 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels. And let's not waste any time celebrating this one. The Angels, after the All-Star break, we know how frustrating Sunday was before the All-Star break, with the frustrating loss, the shocking draft pick. The All-Star break was pretty depressing if you're rooting for the Angels, because we didn't get any representation. And talk about flipping a switch right when we come back. The Angels go to Philadelphia against a really, really good Phillies team, and they handle business. 6-5, the final. Oh, man. Talk about a great way to return to Angels baseball. Shout out to everybody in here, as always, before we jump into this one. A lot of familiar faces, of course. Seen everybody. Angels win, and Vinny, and Larry, and Peter, and Dave, and Dennis, and Roman, and Sports Talk, and Vince, and Chris, and everybody. So shout out to all of you. If you're new, welcome to the second half of the Angel season. Spend every single game right after the game right here with me and the Locked On Network, with everybody in this chat on the Locked On Angels Postcast. And without further ado, let's get right to it, baby.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Not really a turning point in this one. The turning point is the return of the Angels. And what I want to talk about is what this game means, right? Because this team is roller coaster. We know all the memes that are associated with this show, with coin flips and everything that comes with that. I already saw some people in here saying we better talk coin flips. But I was looking at this lineup before the game. I was looking at the news that dropped very shortly before the game, that the Angels electing to go with a bullpen game. Fortunately, we weren't the only team in the majors that did this. Because if we were and we lost, certainly that would have been a huge talking point. But of course, yes, the Yankees made headlines. They did it as well. But you guys are making me laugh in the comments already. But think about what this game could have represented if the Angels lost this one. It could have represented a harsh reminder, a rough reminder, a return to reality, right? Because you look at this team and you go, oh my goodness, after the All-Star break, we have to go to a bullpen game. That's gross. You look at this lineup and you're reminded, hey, sure, the Angels are almost 500, but they only have 2 guys hitting over 250. They only have 2 guys with an OPS over 800. You have a probably below average fielding team, a below average base running team, and you're going, oh, geez, right? If we lose this game, it could be a harsh return to reality, a reminder that this team is not great on paper. And yet, you perform the way you do tonight, and now you've got Larry in here saying, this is a good team, right? You've got people in here saying, don't make trades. Don't sell the team, buy at the deadline, all that good stuff, right? The vibes are obviously high in here. You got Roman saying it's time to make a run. It's crazy the difference one game makes, right? Because, again, you look at that lineup. You look at the stats. You look at the bullpen game that's about to ensue. And if we lose this game 8-0, you know what the vibes are. You know everyone's in here saying, this team sucks, trade everybody, we're not competing for anything. Now we've got everyone saying we can make a run. And I'm here to both hype up the win, absolutely, calm everyone's expectations a little bit. Let's be realistic about where we're at. But man, You can't make a better statement. You can't have a better return to the year or to the second half of the season than what the Angels did tonight for several reasons. You're going up against a Phillies team that's very good, right? Obviously, they're going to be a buyer at the deadline. There are 14 games over 500 coming into this one, already 55 wins. Many predicted the Angels to have less than 55 wins the entire season, right? This is a great Phillies team. You're in Philadelphia. They're unveiling the All-Star Game logo for next year in the building or in the stadium. The energy, of course, in that park is always high. And the Angels come in and they handle business. And they quite honestly do a couple things that we don't expect this Angels team to do. And that's what makes it that much sweeter. Yes, did we have our regular strong performers have solid games? Yes, Zach Neto with a hit in a walk, he scored a run. Nolan Schanuel with a hit in a walk, he scored a run, right? You come to expect those. But boy, oh boy. Joe Adell hits a 2-run home run on an unbelievably tough pitch. Music to our ears. What a sight to see. Taylor Ward with arguably the biggest swing of the game. In the top of the 7th, right when the game is getting close and nervy, he hits a 2-run bomb. Unbelievable. Mike freaking Trout. The guy had 3 strikeouts, and you know how much I hate seeing the strikeouts, and yet it was still a positive game for Mike Trout because he goes 2 for 5, has an RBI and a run. Jorge Soler, didn't even mention him. Opens the scoring with a solo shot, then hits another one right to the warning track that any other night probably gets out. Oh, Hoppy, the guy couldn't hit 200 the last couple months. He's got a 2-hit ball game tonight. Kevin Newman, hell is frozen over. He had a base hit, right? I mean, just think about every single person in this lineup contributed. Just about everybody. Rengifo does go 0 for 4 with the hat trick, but outside of that, everybody contributed tonight. And honestly, pitching-wise, you couldn't have asked for more out of a bullpen game. Now, did Eder have a rough 3 innings? Yes. I mean, obviously, it all came on the 3-run shot by Bryce Harper. But outside of that, 1 run from Zephyr John. You don't love to see that in the first inning, but the Angels come back. So if anything, you love to see the resilience that was created and shown after he gave up a run. Brock Burke, very impressive. 1 1/3 inning, just 1 hit allowed. Bachman gets 2 outs without any trouble. Detmers comes in and gets 3 outs with 2 strikeouts. No trouble. Fermin does give up a run, but that's fine. He's been great. I still feel okay about him. And then Kenley Jansen, he's got 17 saves. That might have been his easiest save as an Angel. Just 1, 2, 3, making it look easy when we know how complicated he can make it. And then we get to the other part of this. And Roman, you read it. The Angels proved tonight that they can hang with the big dogs. That's what he says. It's just games against mid-teams where they lower their level of play. Fair. But let's be real. The average against, or the record against teams above 500 is still not great. It's just we have those really notable wins against the good teams that makes us think we're really good against good teams, right? When we do what we did against the Dodgers, being the most obvious example, we sit here thinking, wait, this team is really, really good against good teams. Well, no, they're still not that great against good teams. But this win is not only a win against a good team, but it's a double good win in the sense that you kind of got the best from a couple Phillies players. I mean, think about it. If you told me the Angels are going to win a baseball game where Bryce Harper has one of his best games of the season, the guy goes 3 for 4. He hits 2 home runs and a double. He scores 2 runs. He has 4 RBIs. And he really even hit a 3rd home run because he had a home run that was foul by a couple of feet, responds a couple pitches later, and then hits the 3-run home run. You got the best Bryce Harper you've seen, right? You got 2 hits from Real Muto. Schwarber hit a home run. Trey Turner got on base and scored a run. Now, were you going against the Phillies ace? No, but we were going with the bullpen game. So we're at a pitching disadvantage. Their superstar comes through. Their other stars have solid games, and you beat them. You beat them. That's a statement. That's not a lucky win against a good team. That is one of the best wins of the season in your first game after the All-Star break. And now you see me getting hype. You see me gassing the win up. Of course I am. Does that mean I'm ready to change the outlook on the rest of this season? No. But man, it's certainly a good start. And it's certainly what you want to see to maybe consider you're changing your outlook in a few games, in a few weeks, in a few series, something like that, right? How huge was this win? Oh my goodness. Before we take our break, let's get right to it. It's the player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
And this is a tough one. It feels like it can go to a few guys. But call me biased, call me nostalgic, a homer. Give me Mike Trout, player of the game. I see some people saying it should be Taylor Ward, but let's not forget, the guy had one hit. It happened to be a big-time two-run home run. And, of course, it is a big-time two-run home run. If Trout didn't strike out 3 times, if he didn't look at a strike on a pitch right on the outside corner with the runner in scoring position, this would be a no-brainer. But still, only 2 guys, despite how great of an offensive performance this is. And again, 10 hits. You did strike out 12 times. 10 hits, though. But there's only 2 guys that have 2 hits in this game, which I think is a good thing. It shows how great this was a team performance. But there's only 2 guys in this game that had 2 hits. Logan O'Hoppe goes 2 for 4, and Mike Trout goes 2 for 4 with the RBI and the run. So I'm giving it to him, right? Larry, you're right. Even though Mike Trout has a really bad strikeout with a runner in scoring position, he also has a big-time RBI swing, right? He also has a double. So O'Hoppe had a triple. Certainly he was up for consideration. Taylor Ward did have arguably the biggest swing with the 2-run shot. Joe Adell obviously had a huge swing with the 2-run shot, but I'm giving it to Mike Trout and how important this next couple of weeks are going to be for him, because the average is suddenly over 240. The OPS is almost at 840. He's got the highest OPS on the team, guys. Everyone wants to rip on Mike Trout. He's got the best OPS on the team, right in the 3 hole. He's sitting there the rest of the year. So huge credit to him. Arguably, no one has more pressure on him on this team in the second half than Mike Trout. You could say it's a guy like a Taylor Ward or something like that, but we all know that if he's struggling, they'll ship him. If he's doing really well, they'll praise him. Versus Trout, he's not going anywhere. All the pressure. All the comments about his lack of being clutch or his inability to be clutch. There's arguably no player has more pressure on them on this team than Mike Trout. So when he comes through, you better give him his credit. So player of the game goes to Mike Trout, and the moral of the story is what a freaking win. Now, when we come back, I feel like we kind of just recap the box score. I'll quickly give you a reminder of the events that happened in this ball game, and then we will talk about the rest of the series and just a quick brief outlook on the expectations, the trade deadline. What should we be thinking about this team in the second half, not just after this win, both coming into this win and now with this win? We'll do all of that after our break here on Man, oh man, what a nice return to the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'll be right back. Now, on this Friday, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You know how much we love FanDuel, especially when I'm in a state where I can use it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Whenever I am out of California, I always use the New York example, but whenever I'm out of California, I use FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing the same game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. So if you're new to FanDuel, customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back here live on a victory edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. We got a coin flip game, drinking game. We got a coin flip game, folks. We got a 1-run game once again. The Angels are almost 10 games over 500 in 1-run games, 19-10 in 1-run games. And that's despite being, let's be honest, an awful team in extra inning ball games. So that makes that even more impressive that this team, despite being awful with the Manfred men on second, despite being awful in games that go into the 10th inning, they're 19-10 in 1-run games. And if you know anything about me and what I was saying coming into this season in the first couple of postcasts, what was I saying? I was saying the goal for this season is to be as competitive as a baseball team for as long as possible so that your young future stars get as many meaningful games, as many meaningful at-bats, as many meaningful plays in the field as possible this season. The worst thing about last year, Of course, the record was terrible, but you had guys like Zach Neto. You had guys like Logan O'Hoppe that had good first halves, even good second halves. And then especially guys like Logan O'Hoppe, they just hit a wall and they just started playing horrible baseball the last couple of weeks, months of the season. And sure, part of that is just they were struggling, but part of that is you lose the intensity that comes with playing meaningful baseball. And even in the middle of the year, you're not in a playoff push, but you're not eliminated. You're not, looking at the finish line. You're playing as hard as you can. You're as focused as you can, right? The moral of the story is this Angels team goes right back to one game under 500, and they are looking like a team that, regardless of what they do at the deadline, is going to have as many meaningful games and as bats as possible in the season. And the good news is, when the going gets tight, when, knees are heavy, arms are sweaty, whatever, palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti, right? This team performs. This team performs. They did it again tonight. And that's a great sign, both in terms of what they're going to do this year. A lot of games that they should lose, they're winning. But it also means whether it's this year or next year or 3 years from now, when this team is finally playing baseball in October, you got guys that you can trust to come through in big moments, and you absolutely love to see it. Now, real quick, in case you forgot what happened in this ball game, I'll get to it. Kyle Schwarber hit a first-inning home run. You did not love to see that off Zephyr John, but the moral of the story is this team always knows how to respond, and it was no different in the first game of the second half of the season. Jorge Soler immediately with a 2-out home run on a fastball right down the middle, first pitch fastball, and he jumps all over it, absolutely crushes it, ties it at 1. Then a huge play in the bottom of the second where there's 2 on, 1 out, and we're able to get a double play. Jake Eder does a good job there. And then Jake Eder did not do a good job. He gives up 2 home runs and 1 at-bat to Bryce Harper, a 3-run shot. That made it 4-1 Phillies. You're thinking, oh, man, they're going to run away with this one. You kind of expected that in a bullpen game, but no. The bounce back, whatever you want to say it, the bounce back Angels, the answer Angels, the resilient Angels, the hopeful Halos, whatever. They did it again. Joe Adell with the 2-run home run, a really impressive swing for his 20th home run of the season, a changeup below the knees. He hits it to center, right center field-ish, 411 feet. That made it 4-3. And then Mike Trout with a huge 2-out, 2-2 RBI single on a ball that's a sweeper below the zone. He hits a ground ball up the middle. He hit it extremely hard. That made it 4-4. And then the Angels kept going, right? With the huge swing, top of the 7th, Taylor Ward, a 2-run shot on a sweeper down and in, 393 feet, but he hit it real hard. That made it 6-4. There was an opportunity for the Angels to really put this game away. You had an amazing leadoff triple, or not leadoff, 1-out triple from Logan O'Hoppe, and the Angels didn't score him. Then Bryce Harper hits his 2nd home run of the game, his 3rd extra base hit of the game to make it 6-5. And you're thinking, oh man, the Angels really, really, really needed that extra insurance run of Logan O'Hoppe on 3rd with 1 out. But luckily, they didn't need it because Kenley Jansen does the job in the 9th, 1-2-3 9th for a 17th save, and the Angels pick up the 6-5 win to open the series in Philadelphia to move, once again, 1 game within that 500 record at 48-49, and above all else, to make a bunch of Halo fans happy and maybe a little too hopeful about the second half of the season. Now, real quick, before we wrap this one up, I want to give you my opinions about this trade deadline. They don't change after 1 game, so don't worry. These were my opinions coming into this game, and they still are my opinions. And I want to hear your guys' opinions on what this team should do at the deadline. I know it's the biggest thing, right, that everyone's going to talk about, whether the Angels win the next 10 games or lose the next 10 games. Everyone's going to be talking the trade deadline, and that's what happens when you're right around 500. We see Larry in here in all caps saying Luis needs to go. Israel's making fun of me for the mom spaghetti there. Hilarious. I'll be honest, I'm not even like the biggest Eminem fan. I'm not a hater or anything, but I kind of exposed myself there by not naming the lyrics word for word there. Fud Alex is saying we need a starting pitcher and 2 bullpen pitchers. Angels win, saying all in, baby. Here's what I say about the trade deadline. I know what I'm going to say, especially after this win, is going to upset some people. But in my opinion, there's no way that the Angels should make any trade that includes a prospect in our system. I don't care who it is. I don't want any trade that includes a prospect for somebody that we will not have control of next year. It's a pretty simple rule, but I think that's the most obvious requirement of this trade deadline. No, if you want to buy, fine. If you want to make lateral moves, fine. But no prospects for guys that are not going to be on the Angels next year, right? I hope that makes sense. That's my opinion. Feels like maybe it's an obvious statement, but I'm saying it. That's rule number one. No trading a prospect or even a young guy, right? You're not going to call obviously they're not going to trade Christian Moore, but you're not going to call Christian Moore. You're not even going to call like a Zephyr John or anything like that a prospect. But I still don't want to trade any of those guys for anyone we don't have control with past the end of this season. That's number one. Number two, I'm still pro trading Taylor Ward. And I know, guys. I know. He has a two-run home run today. And if you really ask me, I think there's no chance. There's no chance that the Angels trade Taylor Ward. I think the Angels could lose the next 10 games. I don't see this team trading Taylor Ward. I'm sorry. There's just nothing about this front office. Perry Minasian's making win now draft picks, right? Last year, he didn't do any selling outside of Estevez and Luis Garcia, which felt like obvious things, right? I don't see a guy in Perry Minasian who his future is not promised in this organization, right? And that's an unfortunate thing. You never want to have a team where the GM feels like he has to win now, even though the franchise should not be trying to win now, right? But when you consider all of that, I don't think they're going to trade Taylor Ward. That being said, I'm still pro trading Taylor Ward. I know a lot of people are obviously saying they're pro trading Luis Rengifo. The moral of the story is I don't think his value could be much lower than it is based on how bad he has been, right? So if you talk about a guy who is actually going to have a lot of value, you're actually going to get some great people in return for him. Despite him, I don't think being vital to this team, I think it's Taylor Ward. He certainly has value. If there's a team that doesn't need a guy to do anything in the field, do anything on the bases, do anything half the time, but give you games where he has 2 hits, give you games where he has 4 RBIs, give you stretches where he's going to hit 5 home runs in 7 games, and they can live with the games where he strikes out 5 times. I know the Padres is the most common link for Taylor Ward. I think Taylor Ward is more valuable for other franchises than he is for ours, and that means you can get something for him. And if you take Taylor Ward out of this team, I don't think things are that bad. I really don't. That's my idea. Some people are going to disagree, and that's fine. And it's certainly a win like today where he contributes big time. It's going to make it a lot harder to justify that, but that's still what I'm sticking to. So those are my 2 main rules. My number one rule, or my number one other rule, is I would like to see us get a starting pitcher. I think you can make a lateral move, right, where you acquire a starting pitcher, or maybe you make a move where you give up a prospect, but it's for a starting pitcher that you have control of past this season, right? That's the only way I justify giving up the prospect. But I do think we've seen enough here to know that Jack Kowanowitz is not going to be your number 5. I think Reed Detmers feels like a bullpen arm. I'm not ready to see guys like Zephyr John and Caden Dana and all that. I think if you go make one move for a starter, I would be okay with that. But outside of that, I don't see the Angels trading away any veterans outside of maybe Taylor Ward, maybe Luis Rengifo, maybe. I don't see Kenley leaving, honestly, either. And he also said he does not want to leave. So I'm waffling. I'm all over the place. It's a confusing trade deadline for the Angels. But if there is a big statement trade where you go, wow, I did not expect the Angels to do that, I would much rather have it be the Angels trading Taylor Ward than the Angels trading prospects for somebody. And that's where I'm going to leave this one. But with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here. A huge win for the Angels to come back from the All-Star break. And now it gets interesting because the Angels can have a statement win, right? This is a rough stretch for the Angels. You go 3 in Philly, 3 against the Mets before you come home for 13 at home. If you can go 3-3 in this road trip, you will take it 9 times out of 10, and you're one step closer to that by starting this stretch 1-0. Imagine how possible that becomes if you can handle business either tomorrow or the day after, right? So should be interesting. That's where we're going to leave this one. But shout out to everybody in here. Feels so good to be back. Obviously, I'm back in LA. I spent the last 2-3 weeks in the Bay Area, but I know for those that care or whatever, I got my car. I made the drive back down to LA, and we're back in the correct studio. And oh yeah, one more thing. My beloved Chelsea, we're champions of the world. I'm just going to leave it with that. So have a great rest of your Friday night, everybody. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Angels play at 3, so the show will be around 5:30, 6-ish. Looking forward to that. And as always, go Angels. Take care, everybody. So good to see you all again, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. What a win.